The sun set over Earth, casting a warm glow across the landscape. In the quiet moments before night fell, a sense of unease lingered in the air. People went about their daily lives unaware that danger was approaching. Far beyond the stars, in the depths of space, an alien armada known as the Thraxians was gathering strength. In a high-tech command center, Captain Sarah Blake stood in front of a massive screen displaying the solar system. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, and her blue uniform bore the insignia of the Earth Space Fleet. She tapped her fingers on the console. Her eyes narrowed as she studied the incoming data. Reports of the Thraxian fleet were alarming. The Thraxians were known for their ruthless nature and powerful technology. They had already destroyed several planets in their quest for dominance, and Earth was next on their list. The command center buzzed with activity.
Officers and scientists rushed around, analyzing information and preparing for...
Captain Blake felt a wave of responsibility wash over her. She had trained her crew for years, preparing them for any threat. But this was different. The Thraxians were a force unlike any they had faced before. "Captain, we need to make a decision," said Lieutenant Alex Chen, her trusted second-in-command. He was tall and serious, his brow furrowed with worry. "The Thraxian fleet is moving fast. They could reach Earth within days. Prepare the Sun Eater fleet," Captain Blake ordered, her voice steady despite the fear creeping into her heart. The Sun Eater fleet was a closely guarded secret, a powerful group of warships designed to harness solar energy as a weapon. They were humanity's last hope against the impending threat. "Are you sure, Captain?" Chen asked, hesitating for a moment. "The Sun Eater fleet is still untested in battle. We don't have a choice," she replied firmly. "If we wait too long, it will be too late. We need to show the Thraxians that we will fight back." As the crew scrambled to prepare the fleet, Captain Blake thought back to her training days. She remembered her instructors teaching her about the Sun Eater fleet's unique capabilities. They could absorb sunlight from stars, converting it into energy that could be unleashed in powerful blasts. It was a technology that could turn the tide of any battle, but it also came with risks. Hours passed, and the atmosphere in the command center grew tense. Captain Blake gathered her officers for a briefing. She stood at the front, projecting confidence, even as anxiety bubbled beneath the surface. "Listen up, everyone," she began, her voice clear and commanding. "The Thraxians are coming. We've received reports of their fleet, and it's massive. We must be ready to defend our home. The Sun Eater fleet will be our greatest weapon, but it will require all of us to work together." The officers nodded, determination etched on their faces. Captain Blake felt a surge of pride for her crew. They were more than just soldiers, they were family. She knew they would stand by her side no matter the danger. As the meeting ended, she walked to a window, gazing out at the stars. The universe was vast and beautiful, but it could also be unforgiving. She thought about the people of Earth, the families and friends who relied on her to keep them safe. They deserved a future free from fear, free from the threat of the Thraxians. Suddenly, an alarm blared, shattering the silence. Red lights flashed, and a voice echoed through the command center. "Incoming transmission from the Thraxian fleet. They are demanding our surrender." Captain Blake turned sharply, her heart racing. "On screen!" she commanded. The large display flickered, and an image of a Thraxian commander appeared. He was tall, with sharp features and glowing red eyes. His voice was cold and menacing. "Humans, you will surrender your planet. Resistance is futile." Captain Blake's resolve hardened. "We will never surrender," she replied defiantly, her voice steady. The commander sneered, and the screen went black. As she turned to her crew, she saw the fear in their eyes, but she also saw determination. "Prepare the Sun Eater fleet. We fight for our home!" she shouted, rallying her crew. In that moment, Captain Blake knew they were ready. The dark clouds were gathering, but they would not face the storm alone. They would stand together, united. As Earth's last line of defense, the battle for their future was about to begin. The command center buzzed with energy as preparations for battle reached a fever pitch. Captain Sarah Blake stood at the helm, her heart racing with anticipation. The news of the Thraxians' demands had spread like wildfire, igniting a sense of urgency among her crew. They all knew the time for action had come. "Status report on the Sun Eater fleet!" Blake shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. "Captain, the fleet is ready for activation," replied Lieutenant Alex Chen, who was furiously typing on his console. We just need your command to proceed. Blake took a deep breath, her mind racing. The Sun Eater fleet was not just any group of warships. These massive vessels were designed to harness solar energy and turn it into a formidable weapon. They had been built in secret, a last resort against threats like the Thraxians. Now it was time to bring them to life. Activate the Sun Eater fleet, she commanded firmly. Let's show the Thraxians what we can do. As the orders were sent, the walls of the command center shook slightly. Outside, the enormous hangar doors began to open, revealing a dazzling sight. The Sun Eater ships emerged one by one, their sleek designs glinting under the sun. Each ship was equipped with massive solar sails that could absorb sunlight, making them look like majestic giants rising from slumber. Look at them, Chen said, awe in his voice. They're beautiful. Blake nodded, pride swelling in her chest. They're more than beautiful, they're our hope. As the fleet assembled, she recalled her training days, where she and her fellow officers learned the secrets of the Sun Eater technology. They had practiced simulations, but now it was real. They would face the Thraxians with these powerful ships, and she felt the weight of their future resting on her shoulders. Captain, we need to run a systems check on all ships, said Commander Elena Torres, the fleet's chief engineer. She was a brilliant technician with a knack for solving problems. I want to ensure everything is working perfectly before we engage. Agreed, Blake replied. Let's make sure we're ready for anything. The crew moved swiftly, checking every system, running diagnostics, and preparing the ships for battle. Captain Blake watched as her team worked in perfect harmony, each person knowing their role. The energy in the room was electric, filled with determination and focus. Once the checks were complete, Blake gathered her crew for a final briefing. They stood in front of a holographic map of the solar system, the glowing outlines of the Sun Eater fleet shining brightly. Everyone listen up, she began, her voice strong and clear. We are about to face the greatest challenge of our lives. The Thraxians are a dangerous enemy, but we are not alone. We have the Sun Eater fleet at our backs. We can harness the power of the sun itself. Our goal is simple, protect Earth at all costs. The crew nodded, their expressions serious. Blake could see the fire in their eyes, and it fueled her own resolve. Together we can overcome this threat. Let's make our families proud and show the Thraxians what humanity can do when pushed to the brink. With that, the crew erupted in cheers, their spirits high. Captain Blake felt a wave of pride wash over her. They were ready. As the Sun Eater fleet moved into formation, Blake took her position in the lead ship, the USS Solara. It was the largest and most powerful of the fleet, its solar sails unfurling like the wings of a giant bird. The ship hummed with energy, a testament to the technology that had been developed over years of research and dedication. Captain, we are ready for launch, Alex Chen reported. His fingers danced across the controls, eager to engage. Launch the fleet, Blake ordered. The hangar doors opened fully, revealing the dark expanse of space. One by one, the Sun Eater ships soared into the void, their sails catching the light of the sun. As they emerged into the vastness of space, Captain Blake felt exhilarated. The sight of her fleet, a constellation of powerful ships, filled her with hope. They were ready to face the darkness ahead. Set course for the Thraxian fleet, Blake commanded, her heart pounding with anticipation. It's time to show them that Earth will not go down without a fight. With the Sun Eater fleet at her command, Captain Blake prepared to confront the impending storm. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and she knew they would fight with everything they had. Together, they would awaken the giants of the Sun Eater fleet and unleash their power against the Thraxians. The vastness of space stretched before Captain Sarah Blake and her crew as the Sun Eater fleet moved toward the Thraxian Armada. Each ship glowed with power, their solar sails shimmering under the light of distant stars. The atmosphere aboard the USS Solara was electric with anticipation. Captain, we are approaching the Thraxian fleet, Lieutenant Alex Chen announced, his voice steady despite the tension. The view screen displayed a swarm of alien ships, dark and menacing against the backdrop of the cosmos. Prepare to engage, Blake ordered, her heart racing. Let's show them what we can do. As the crew readied their weapons, Captain Blake studied the enemy formation. The Thraxian ships were larger, their designs sharp and angular. They looked powerful, but she knew the Sun Eater fleet had one advantage. They could harness the energy of the sun. Captain, incoming message from the Thraxian commander, Chen said, his fingers flying across the controls. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the same menacing figure they had seen before. Humans, you dare to challenge us? the Thraxian commander sneered. His voice was cold and filled with disdain. "You will fall before our might." Blake's resolve hardened. "We will not back down. Earth will fight for its freedom." She pressed a button, cutting off the transmission. "On my mark, we unleash the solar blasts," Blake instructed. "Aim for their lead ship. We need to make an impact." The crew worked quickly, locking onto their targets. The tension in the command center grew thick as everyone held their breath, waiting for the signal. "Steady! Steady!" Blake whispered, her eyes fixed on the enemy fleet. "Now!" she shouted, and the Sun Eater fleet fired. Blinding beams of solar energy erupted from the ships, cutting through the darkness like lightning. The blasts hit the lead Thraxian ship, exploding on impact. Debris scattered into the void as the alien ship crumbled under the force of the attack. The Thraxian fleet responded instantly. Red beams of energy shot toward the Sun Eater ships, illuminating the darkness with deadly light. Captain Blake felt a surge of adrenaline as she ordered her crew to maneuver. "Evasive action!" she yelled. The USS Solara swerved sharply, dodging the incoming fire. The crew worked as a team, each person knowing their role. Alarms blared, and the ship shook as it narrowly avoided a blast. "Return fire!" Blake commanded. The Sun Eater ships unleashed another wave of solar energy, targeting the Thraxian vessels with precision. Explosions lit up the dark expanse as they hit their marks. "Captain, the Thraxians are regrouping," Chen warned. "They're forming a counterattack." Blake's mind raced. She needed to think fast. "We have to divide their forces. Let's create a distraction. Diverting power to the aft cannons!" Torres shouted from the engineering station. "Do it now," Blake replied, her voice strong. The crew worked frantically, redirecting energy and preparing for a new strategy. As the Thraxians closed in, Blake made her move. "Full speed ahead! We're going to charge right through them." The USS Solara surged forward, leading the charge into the heart of the Thraxian fleet. The Sun Eater ships followed closely, unleashing a barrage of solar blasts as they pushed forward. The Thraxians were caught off guard. The chaos erupted as Sun Eater ships weaved through the enemy lines, targeting individual vessels with deadly accuracy. Captain Blake felt a rush of exhilaration. They were making a difference. "Captain, they're breaking formation!" Chen shouted, his eyes wide with surprise. The Thraxian ships were starting to falter, their coordinated attack unraveling. "Keep up the pressure!" Blake urged, her voice filled with determination. "We can win this!" Just then, a massive Thraxian ship loomed ahead, its weapons powering up. "Incoming fire!" someone shouted from the back of the command center. Blake's heart raced. "Brace for impact!" she commanded. The ship shook violently as the Thraxian blasts hit, but the USS Solara held strong. "Return fire! Target their weapon systems!" The crew worked together, sending another powerful solar blast toward the enemy ship. It hit directly, causing an explosion that illuminated the darkness of space. "Captain, the Thraxian fleet is retreating," Chen reported, disbelief in his voice. Blake couldn't believe it. "We did it! They're turning back!" The crew erupted in cheers, a wave of relief washing over them. "Let's not lose sight of them," Blake reminded her crew. "We need to make sure they don't come back." As the remnants of the Thraxian fleet fled into the depths of space, Captain Blake felt a surge of pride. They had stood up against a powerful enemy and emerged victorious. The battle for Earth was far from over, but today they had won a crucial fight. The giants of the Sun Eater fleet had awakened, and they had shown the universe what humanity was capable of. As the echoes of battle faded, the USS Solara drifted slowly through the aftermath of the fight. The vastness of space felt eerily quiet now, a stark contrast to the chaos that had just unfolded. Captain Sarah Blake stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the debris field left behind by the Thraxian fleet. Fragments of alien ships floated like ghostly reminders of their recent conflict. "Status report!" Blake commanded, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside her. Lieutenant Alex Chen was quick to respond, his fingers tapping away at his console. "We've sustained some damage, but it's manageable. Most systems are operational. We lost 2 Sun Eater ships, but they fought bravely." Blake's heart sank at the news of the losses. "Prepare a memorial for the fallen," she said, her voice softening. "They gave their lives to protect Earth." Commander Elena Torres looked up from her station, her expression serious. "The Thraxians retreated, but they won't be gone for long. They will regroup and return with reinforcements." Blake nodded, acknowledging the truth of Torres's words. We need to be ready. Inform the other ships to begin repairs and replenish their supplies. We'll need every ship at full strength for the next battle. The crew moved swiftly, responding to her orders. As the command center buzzed with activity, Blake couldn't shake the feeling of weight on her shoulders. The fight was won, but the war was far from over. The universe was still a dangerous place, and she had to prepare for whatever came next. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth, Chen said, his tone changing. It's General Markham. Put it through, Blake replied, her mind racing. The screen flickered, revealing the stern face of General Markham. Captain Blake, congratulations on your victory. You and your fleet have done humanity proud. Thank you, General, Blake said, trying to keep her emotions in check. But we lost ships and lives today. We need to be ready for the Thraxians when they return. I understand, Markham replied. We are mobilizing additional fleets to support you, but we need to focus on gathering intelligence about the Thraxians. We must know what we are up against. I agree, Blake said, her determination solidifying. We need to find out their next move. If we can predict their strategy, we stand a better chance of winning. Keep me informed, Captain, Markham instructed. We're counting on you. The transmission ended, and Blake turned back to her crew. All right, team, we have work to do. Let's gather all available data on the Thraxians. We need to understand their technology and tactics. As the crew delved into their research, Blake took a moment to reflect on the battle. They had faced a powerful enemy and had come out on top, but at a cost. The sacrifices made by their fallen comrades weighed heavily on her heart. She promised herself that she would honor them by ensuring their fight was not in vain. Hours passed, and the ship hummed with activity as the crew worked tirelessly. Data streamed across screens, revealing patterns and weaknesses in the Thraxian strategy. Captain, we've identified a potential weakness in their weapon systems, Chen announced, excitement lacing his voice. If we can exploit this during their next attack, we might have the upper hand. Blake felt a spark of hope. Good work, Alex. Prepare a report on our findings. I want everyone to be aware of this. Just then, a loud alert blared throughout the command center. Captain, we've detected an incoming vessel. A crew member shouted, panic creeping into their voice. Identify it, Blake barked, her heart racing. It's a Thraxian scout ship. Activate shields and prepare for possible combat, Blake ordered, her mind racing. They had just emerged victorious, but the threat was still very real. The scout ship approached, its dark hull gleaming ominously. Blake took a deep breath, reminding herself that they were ready. The Sun Eater fleet was not going to back down. As the Thraxian ship drew closer, Blake's crew sprang into action. They had learned from the first battle, and now they would use that knowledge to their advantage. Captain, they're hailing us, Chen shouted. Put them on screen, Blake replied, her heart pounding. The Thraxian commander appeared on the screen, his expression twisted with anger. You humans are foolish to challenge us! We will not forget your defiance! Blake stared back, her resolve unwavering. We will defend our home. You will not take Earth! The Thraxian laughed coldly, but Blake saw the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Prepare for consequences, humans. This is not over. With that, the transmission cut off, leaving a tense silence in the command center. Blake turned to her crew, determination blazing in her eyes. We will be ready, she said, her voice steady. They think they can intimidate us, but we will stand our ground. We are Earth's defenders, and we will fight for our future. The crew erupted into cheers, their spirits lifted. In that moment, Captain Blake knew they were not just a fleet of ships. They were a united force, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would prepare for the coming storm and protect the planet they loved. The tension was thick in the air as Captain Sarah Blake stood on the bridge of the USS Solara, staring at the view screen. The Thraxian fleet was approaching, and this time they were not alone. The dark shapes of countless ships filled the screen, their hulls shimmering menacingly against the backdrop of distant stars. Captain, we estimate their numbers at over 100 ships, Lieutenant Alex Chen reported, his voice steady despite the anxiety that gripped the crew. Blake felt a knot tighten in her stomach. They had been preparing for this moment, but seeing the enemy in such overwhelming numbers made her heart race. Prepare our defenses, she ordered, forcing herself to stay calm. We must be ready for anything. Deploy the rest of the Sun Eater fleet, Commander Elena Torres added, her eyes focused. We need to show them we won't back down. Blake nodded, feeling a surge of pride for her crew. They had trained hard and learned from their previous battles. They were ready to face the Thraxians, even if it meant fighting against incredible odds. "Open a channel to the fleet," Blake instructed. As the screen lit up with the faces of her fellow commanders, she took a deep breath. "Today we stand together against a powerful enemy. The Thraxians think they can take our home. We will show them the strength of Earth." The commanders nodded, their expressions serious. "For Earth!" they shouted in unison, and Blake felt the fire of their determination. As the Thraxian ships drew closer, Blake ordered, "Activate shields and prepare all weapons. We will engage on my mark." The crew sprang into action, each person knowing their role. Blake felt a rush of adrenaline as the countdown began. The bridge hummed with energy, the lights flickering as the systems powered up. 5, 4, 3. "Steady," she urged, her eyes fixed on the approaching fleet. 2, 1, mark! "Engage!" Blake shouted, and the Sun-Eater fleet erupted into action. Bright beams of solar energy shot forth from their ships, illuminating the darkness of space. The Thraxian fleet responded with a barrage of red blasts, filling the void with deadly light. "Brace for impact!" Torres shouted, gripping the edge of her station. The USS Solara shook as enemy fire hit their shields. "Return fire! Target their lead ships!" Blake commanded, her voice fierce. The crew focused, their hands moving swiftly over the controls. Explosions erupted across the view screen as the Sun-Eater fleet struck back. Blake felt a thrill of hope as they began to gain the upper hand. "Captain, they are regrouping!" Chen shouted, his eyes wide. "They're trying to flank us! Hold the line!" Blake ordered. "We cannot let them break our formation!" The battle raged on, a chaotic dance of fire and explosions. Blake's heart raced as she directed her crew, each command pushing them to fight harder. They were no longer just defending, they were attacking, reclaiming their home with every shot fired. "Captain, we've lost communication with the USS Phoenix," Torres reported, concern in her voice. "Damn it!" Blake clenched her fists, knowing the stakes had never been higher. "Keep fighting! We can't let their sacrifices be in vain." As the battle continued, Blake spotted a massive Thraxian ship at the center of the enemy formation. Its weapons glowed ominously, preparing to unleash its fury. "There's their command ship," Blake realized. "If we can take it out, we can disrupt their entire fleet." "On it, Captain!" Chen said, quickly plotting a course. "Setting a target lock now. Fire all weapons," Blake commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. The USS Solara surged forward, and solar blasts erupted from its cannons. The energy beams shot through space, striking the Thraxian command ship directly. The impact was explosive, illuminating the darkness in a brilliant flash. "Direct hit!" Someone cheered, but the victory was short-lived. The command ship still functioned, its weapons now targeting the USS Solara. "Brace for impact!" Blake shouted again, just as a powerful beam shot toward them. The ship shook violently as it absorbed the blow, alarms blaring. "Shields holding at 50%! Chen called out, determination etched on his face. "We can take it!" Blake gritted her teeth, rallying her crew. "We've come too far to back down now. One more hit on that command ship and we can turn the tide of this battle." With renewed determination, they targeted the Thraxian ship again. "Fire!" Blake shouted, and the crew unleashed their full power. The blast struck the command ship with a deafening roar, and the explosion lit up the surrounding space like a supernova. For a moment, everything fell silent. "Captain, the Thraxian fleet is breaking apart!" Chen exclaimed, disbelief in his voice. Blake couldn't believe her eyes. One by one, Thraxian ships began to retreat, the once mighty Armada scattering into the darkness. "Victory!" Torres shouted, her voice ringing with excitement. The crew erupted into cheers, their hard-fought battle culminating in a glorious triumph. Captain Blake stood tall, her heart swelling with pride for her crew and for Earth. They had faced a powerful enemy and emerged victorious, but she knew the fight for their future was not yet over. Today was a victory, but tomorrow would bring new challenges. As she looked at her crew, united and strong, Blake knew they were ready to face whatever came next. Together, they would defend their home, no matter the cost.